Peace, family. Welcome. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt, and I'm so glad to be here to report that a lot of things that we've been reporting over the last, 8 years is finally coming into fruition. So, what just happened recently, family, keep checking in, is that Florida legalized gold and silver to be used for daily use and daily transactions. This is just a foreshadowing of what the whole world is about to do. We are going to experience a whole global shift towards world peace and towards using gold and silver for daily use. Now, I've been telling you and reporting on this for some time now that here in America, 45 states have actually moved toward using silver and gold as money. And the way the 45 states in America move towards using gold and silver as money is by repealing the state sales taxes from precious metals. This is new news for most people, but this was a reality in 2011. There were 13 states then that had legalized using silver and gold as legal tender for local goods and services. It's just that most people didn't know about it. So I was reporting that around 2014, 2015, and then year after year, I would report which other states came on board until we got to the part where now we're at 45 states have reclaim silver and gold as money. And it depends on what articles you read, because some articles state that it's 46 states have now repealed the sales taxes from the sales of precious metals, which is monumental. What gives the states the authority to remove state sales tax from precious metals? Well, it's the fact that we've returned to the republic. Our republic here in America has been restored unbeknownst to most people, and we can see that happening. We see the cues, for example, when 45 or 46 states then took it upon themselves to reclaim silver and gold as money by removing the state sales taxes from the sales of precious metals. Why was there even a tax on silver and gold to begin with? Because whomever enslaved this planet and stole our republic from us and stole our freedoms and our liberties from us put sales taxes on the sales of precious metals and declared that they were no longer to be used as money, but they were to be deemed as a commodity. But most recently, we not only had states to come forward and say, hold up, we've been violating, or you, United States Incorporated, has been violating our republic and our constitution for our republic. And since, according to our republic, each state is its own country, we are sovereign. We're going to take it upon ourselves to take our sovereignty back and pass laws and bills using your modem, your secrets, your tools, deep state, against you by introducing bills and passing bills to reclaim silver and gold as money. This is monumental. So behind the scenes, 45 states has been doing that, and I will show you the proof. It's the same proof that I've been showing you. It is that article by the Sound Money Defense League. And even before they came out with this article, I've been telling people for nearly 8 or more years that this is happening, that states would take it upon themselves to go back to the gold standard. Here we see this article, and I'm going to show you that Texas just made a bold move to do the same. But here's the article that says that state laws can help restore gold and silver as money, and specifically says that a growing number of Americans understand the reckless creation of fiat currency by the Federal Reserve System and how that's caused many economic problems. How we, the people, desire to abolish the Fed and return to a gold-backed currency. So state legislatures took it upon themselves to do so. To date, according to this article, 45 states have removed some or all taxes from the purchase of gold and silver. Of the 5 states that still remain or apply this outmoded tax to purchase of precious metals, most of them are slated to consider ending the sales tax on precious metals right here in 2025. If you want to know where your state stands, whether or not your state has repealed all or some of the sales tax from precious metals, you can go further down in the article, click on your state. It lists from Alabama all the way up to Wyoming. See which bills have been passed to reclaim silver and gold as money. This article was published this year. We can see that this is happening for some time. Here it precedent. It is literally in stone. It is written. And I've been saying this for some years, but now we have proof, and I've been showing you this over the years. It's not just here in America. But in and I've shown this article many times, and I've been talking about the BRICS bloc and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The Shanghai Corporation being the Asian nations, the BRICS bloc being Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and all the nations that joined that bloc, which in 2022 was 85% of the global population, had already decided to stop trading with the dollar and use their local currencies backed by gold and silver. But in February 2023, I showed you this article. As soon as it came out, the day that it came out, that the world is hurtling back toward gold as money. The world is rushing back toward gold as money. And the article states what I've been saying for a long time, that Vladimir Putin from Russia was the precursor. He was the catalyst that ignited a fire and a passion in the countries all over the world to return to gold as money. I'll just for you what happened. Vladimir Putin went to Ukraine. They call it Great Ukraine War. He uncovered all that was going on with the deep state and the underground tunnels in Ukraine, how they were doing money laundering, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, creating labs for diseases to sicken the people here on the planet. And once he uncovered that, he released some of that, sent some of that information to James Comer, who's the chair of the House Oversight Committee. James Comer gathered that evidence. You can go to oversight.house.gov, type in Biden. You see all that the Biden crime family did and all the people attached to him as it relates to all the nefarious activities that were going on in Ukraine. Putin didn't just show all that to Vladimir Putin, but he exposed it to the world. And since he did that, mainstream media, which is a branch of the deep state, then published all kind of heinous things about Vladimir Putin and how he was causing disruption in Ukraine and how he was to be excommunicated and how he was supposed to have sanctions upon him. You know, people start turning on Vladimir Putin, but he stood 10 toes down and he said, I don't care what you guys say. I know who I am. I know my bloodline. I am a part of this bloodline family who are connected to extraterrestrials that come to liberate humanity. And I'm going to expose what they've done to enslave the planet. So Biden put sanctions on Putin for uncovering all the stuff that was going on in Ukraine and said nobody's to do business with him. But he clapped back in style and fashion. And he said, I'm not afraid of you putting sanctions on me, Biden, or United States government, United States Incorporated. We all know the secret that you're a group of bloodline families that usurped authority from republics all over the world. And if you want to go deeper than that, most of you that are part of lodges, politics, CEOs of banks and major corporations, and part of the government, most of you have agreement with these extraterrestrials that are considered custodians, Anunnaki, and the Watchers, and so on and so forth, that have enslaved humanity for eons of time. But I'm exposing all that. You can put sanctions on me. I'll use my own currency for trade. That was in 2022. And that is when the Russian ruble became the strongest performing currency in the world. Then Vladimir Putin of Russia went to the BRICS conference and he told all the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, follow my lead. Stop trading with the United States dollar, and that will hurt the Federal Reserve, because what made the United States dollar the world reserve currency was the United States Incorporated's agreement with the Saudi princes and the Saudi kingdom to protect their kingdom in exchange for oil and force all nations to get oil from Saudi Arabia. They must therefore use the United States dollar. They couldn't even use their own currency. They couldn't use gold. They couldn't use silver. And if for some reason they used their currency, it had to be pegged to the United States dollar. That's what gave the United States dollar the world reserve currency status. That's what made the United States Incorporated have financial and economic hegemony, making them the powerhouse that they were. So when Vladimir Putin said, hey, we've got to do something to end this clutch, this grip that the Federal Reserve has on the people here in America and abroad, because he even did that. The farmers took the Federal Reserve to court and the United States Incorporated to court in the 70s and the 80s and said, listen, the Federal Reserve, the United States Incorporated is enslaving the people, not through finances, but through food and poison in the cattle, in the vegetables, in the seeds. And when the farmers took them to the World Court, it was determined that, yes, the Federal Reserve banking system had enacted nefarious banking things and ideologies and imposed usury or interest rates on the farmers, which is unconstitutional. But they not only did it to the farmers, they did it to everybody in the world. And the farmers were told in the 70s at those court hearings that they would be remedied, that they would that the World Council would form a conglomerate of military called the Grand Army of the Republic to take down the deep state. And they will also simultaneously take down the Federal Reserve central banking system. And then the world would be liberated by using gold to pay off the debts. The farmers were told, your debts will be paid first. You will be remedied first. All you have endured with these with the agreements that you had with banks, and banks forcing you to sow Monsanto seeds and poison cattle, and banks saying if you didn't get along with this, you couldn't get a loan from us, from the banks, and with banks imposing interest rates on you. All of that was unconstitutional. You're going to be paid out first through the claims once the deep state is taken down, and then the world. So all that was the precursor to Vladimir Putin exposing the same deep state in the Ukraine. Again, Biden put sanctions on Vladimir Putin for exposing the deep state. Putin then went to the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa conference and told all the BRICS nations to stop trading with the dollar. And that will hurt the Federal Reserve central banking system, and it will hurt the United States Incorporated. Putin went a step further. He tapped on the shoulders of Saudi Arabia. He said, listen, you all have an agreement with the United States Incorporated that they will protect the Saudi kingdom in exchange for your oil and force all exporting nations to get oil from you using the United States dollar. And if they don't, then the United States Incorporated would impose sanctions on these nations. It would declare war against these nations. And the same nefarious United States Incorporated that would declare war on any nation who did not want to participate in this arrangement, getting oil from Saudi Arabia in exchange for using the dollar in exchange for oil. He said, okay, what they would do is pay for both sides of the war. And it didn't matter who won, the United States Incorporated would still end up making money from it. So Vladimir Putin said, listen, Saudi Arabia, I know you really don't want to be wrapped up in this agreement. So why don't you just join the BRICS bloc? I got your back. Don't worry. We're going to make a secret agreement between Russia and the BRICS bloc and Saudi Arabia to no longer do business with the United States Incorporated. So Saudi Arabia, behind the backs of the United States Incorporated and unbeknownst to most people, joined the BRICS bloc, and BRICS became known as Sal BRICS. That was in 2022. Then in 2020, most people still thinking this agreement was going on. Then in 2024, that agreement, the contractual agreement between Saudi Arabia and the United States Incorporated, was not renewed, but it was already demolished in 2022 when Saudi Arabia joined BRICS, and they became known as Sal BRICS. Then other nations started joining BRICS, and BRICS, the whole union, that bloc, grew so big that there was nothing that the Federal Reserve central banking system could do, because all those nations had made up in their minds that we're going to form an alliance against the deep state. At the same time, you had Asian nations to form the Shanghai Cooperation Organization that said we will no longer use the United States dollar trading for oil or for anything. Then behind the scenes, you had the Grand Army of the Republic doing their job, dismantling world leaders, dismantling CEOs of banks, dismantling lodges, dismantling Masonic organizations, dismantling these churches and these pastors that were a part of brotherhoods, dismantling brotherhoods and sisterhoods that had coalesced against the human population, because people at the top level who are operating in policy development, government, lodges, Masonic temples, higher education, hospitals, you name it, courts, many of them were not even human. On tomorrow, you want to join Chief Mack and I as we talk about how there has been many human resets. We've had many battles against several different alien, so-called alien races, which are just extraterrestrial that are on other parts of the plane. They're not in space anywhere. They're right here on the Earth plane behind ice walls and other walls. We're going to talk about how there's been several resets. But this one that we're about to experience is one of the greatest, if not the greatest reset that we've ever had, because we're going to be completely liberated from these entities that have enslaved humanity. Why have they enslaved us? Because we have something that these entities do not have, and it's called the God spark. It is called the source of life. They detest the fact that we have what many of these other entities do not have, the source of life. And this source of life will cause us to utilize, that's my grandson, every aspect of our brain to manifest things, to fly, to heal, to do all type of beautiful, amazing things that we could never fathom, but some of you have had dreams and visions about. So one of the ways they've enslaved us is by not only poisoning our food and our water and our air, but they constructed a financial system based on a United States dollar that has all type of sigils and money magic on it to keep us enslaved. And they've created debt and a whole debt system that keeps us working and working and working to pay off debt, to pay taxes until we have no energy left to live. We can't manifest. It's hard to thrive. It's difficult to go and help other civilizations become free from these entities that have enslaved them. And we have become caught up in a cycle, which is a death trap. But what has happened is that people who have aligned with many of these entities or these extraterrestrial benevolent entities that are here to help liberate humanity are operating at each level. They've infiltrated the governments, they infiltrated politics, they infiltrated entertainment, mainstream media, hospitals, etc. I'm talking about the good benevolent beings and people that have aligned together to completely destroy and demolish the system. So going back to gold and silver as money is one way to liberate humanity so that we're not using the financial system of these extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings, whomever they are, that have enslaved humanity. They've made top secret agreements with people in government to keep us enslaved. But so many of us are waking up that they're not going to be able to continue this much longer. Now, back to money. Most recently, Texas made a bold move, but Texas isn't the only state to do this. I've been reporting on this for years. I said there were 13 states in 2011 that had already decided to use silver and gold as legal tender, but most people didn't know that you can use silver and gold back then for certain local goods and services. Florida, here in the great state of Florida, where I live, has made a bold move to legalize gold and silver as legal tender. But let's talk about Texas, because they did go a step further. The article says that it says Texas legal gold and silver daily use in bold shift. Now I'm going to show you how they went a step further. June 2025. Gold and silver is legal tender for everyday transactions. Governor Greg Abbott signed a groundbreaking law making Texas the first state to enable routine payments using precious metals via the Texas Bullion Depository. This introduced state-backed digital currency. That's how they became. That's how they took it a step further. Not only can you use silver and gold for daily use, but you can use payments using a precious metals system via the Texas Bullion Depository, and they will use a digital currency or a gold-backed digital currency. State-backed. Why is it state-backed digital currency? State-backed because states are now sovereign. According to the Republic for America, each state is its own country. It's its own laws, own flag. They're taking back their sovereignty. They have taken back their sovereignty. So that's why state-backed digital currency is a huge move. It's silver offers Texans an alternative to fiat money and signaling a broader push for financial autonomy and innovation. Now Texas, they don't have to use fiat. Well, This is good news. It's not new news for those of us that didn't know, because remember, I told you last summer, the Supreme Court determined that state-sponsored banks can now operate independently from and outside of the Federal Reserve central banking system. State-sponsored banks can also have their own charter and issue out their gold-backed currencies. Look it up. Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Federal Reserve having some type of hold or grip or grasp over state-sponsored banks. States can have now autonomy, and that's why Texas was able to say, we're going to tie all our physical gold and silver or currency to gold. And so we're going to tie the currency, the new issued gold backs, and any silver that we have or silver certificates, all that people can use as legal tender is now attached to physical gold. And we're going to take that further by doing what I said we're going to do by attaching state digital currency to gold and silver. A bill that was passed May the 28th of the year, and that was Bill 1056 in Texas, which was a revised bill that updated their existing law to officially recognize gold and silver specie as legal tender. It also laid the foundation for creating a transactional currency backed by gold and silver. That was based upon a bill in November 22nd, 2024 in the state of Texas. And if you want to see what that exact bill looks like, you can go to a link on that site, and I'll bring up to you what that look. Are you guys having problems here? I'll go to and show you what that bill looks like here. I haven't seen you too. Oh, cutting in and out. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. That often happens on this channel. Let's look at that bill from Texas. A bill to be entitled an act relating to the establishment of digital currency backed by gold, authorizing a fee. Be it enacted by the legislature of the state of Texas. Section 1, Subtitle A, Title 4, Government Code is amended by adding Chapter 404A to read as follows. Chapter 404A, Digital Gold Currency. A general provision, definition. In this chapter, digital currency means the digital gold currency established under this chapter. And it goes on to say that it ensures the security of the digital currency and prevents fraud. The comptroller has all authority necessary to enter into contracts to administer this chapter and fulfill the purposes of this chapter. So chapter B, establishment and administration of digital gold currency. The comptroller, shall establish a digital currency that is backed by gold so that each unit of the digital currency issued represents a particular fraction of a troy ounce of gold held in trust as provided by this chapter. The comptroller may contract with a private vendor to establish the digital currency or perform other duties for this chapter. In establishing the digital currency, the comptroller shall establish a means to ensure that the person who holds the digital currency may readily transfer or assign the digital currency to any other person by electronic means. And it goes on further to talk about this bill. I'll put that in the description section for you to read at your leisure. But my point of bringing that to your acknowledgement is just let you know that Texas is leading the way to legalize silver and gold as money in terms of using digital gold and silver, and digital gold and silver now being backed by physical gold and silver. If you follow me on my membership only section, you will know that we've been talking about how once these 45 states had repealed the state sales taxes from the sales of precious metals, that acknowledged that silver and gold was going to be used again as money. And I showed you the website that you can plug into your zip code, and it will tell you all the merchants in your state that accepts silver and gold as legal tender to pay off debts, to buy local goods and services, basically to do whatever you desire to do. But the whole world doesn't have this information yet. But what we do know is that we know that the Supreme Court of the United States said that state-sponsored banks can operate independently from the Federal Reserve. We know that the Federal Reserve central banking system is bankrupt. We know that President Trump has recently been talking about Jerome Powell, who is the chair of the Federal Reserve. He called him a numbskull. He called him a stupid person. And he said the Federal Reserve was complicit in enslaving the people. He also went a step further and said he's likely going to replace Jerome Powell. And he named several people, about 5 or 6 people, one of whom is Dr. Judy Shelton, who is a gold bug, a PhD in economics, and an entrepreneur, a thriving businesswoman. But not only her, but all the people that he nominated to be over the Federal Reserve to replace Jerome Powell have some type of dealings with gold, whether it be they acknowledge gold as money, or they've done research about gold, or they study Austrian economics and not Keynesian economics. So him replacing Jerome Powell is huge, because not only would this person be over the Federal Reserve, but this person will likely work in tandem with or over the United States Treasury Department, because the duties of the Federal Reserve and the duties of the IRS have already been put under the United States Treasury Department. It's already been done. By the time people get the news, this is old news. Even Texas going to gold is old news, because several years ago, Texas had demanded the United States Incorporated to return and repatriate their gold back to them. That's why several years ago, about 5, 6 years ago, the United States Incorporated deep state sent, through their weather manipulation, horrible weather to Texas, because they demanded their gold back. They said, we're a republic. We're operating in our sovereignty. We're independent from the United States Incorporated. They said they were seceding from the Union. In other words, they were just restating and reclaiming their sovereignty. This is what each state will do. Each state will, and really behind the scenes, already have reclaimed their sovereignty. They're independent from the United States Incorporated. They're independent, operating independently from the Federal Reserve central banking system. Also, if you are in the Silver Soul Tribe membership group, I told people about the trillions of dollars that Trump is about to release on the world, for the whole world, but specifically for Americans, because there are lands that were here that have been suppressed, lands that hold minerals, rare earth minerals, gold, silver, precious metals that were not allowed to be tapped into, because the deep state had its grips on that land. But with the Chevron doctrine being overturned by the Supreme Court also last year, that now says that those mines can be released. Those precious metals, those rare earth minerals, they can now be uncovered and realized and go into the sovereign wealth fund and be released for we the people, if we're interested in mining, to get into. But these trillions of dollars were secret trillions of dollars that Trump has been talking about since his first administration, when he said, I'm going to inject trillions of dollars into the global economy. Not only that, but he secured trillions of dollars worth of wealth when he secured deals with the Middle East. Trump brokered world peace, and he brokered and secured all type of trade deals in the Middle East, and with China, and with several other nations that mainstream media will not talk about. Because of that, because of him being the one chosen by the Grand Army of the Republic to do that, as well as to be the one to broker peace between nations that were fighting, like in the Middle East, Iran and Israel, and also nations such as the Congo and Rwanda. He brokered peace there. He brokered peace between South Korea and North Korea. Because he was the one that was chosen to do that, you see the deep state fighting back all across this planet. You saw planes having issues all across the planet, delays. You guys have seen many of the podcasts I've done while I was traveling about how I discovered that this stuff was going on, because my flight was being delayed like 6, 7 times, a couple days, all kind of craziness. And a lot of other things are going on behind the scenes in states all over America. But these states are countries. Remember that. Chief Mack and I are going to talk about how all of these things that are going on that we're going to discuss tomorrow are all a distraction, and they're all something to keep our attention diverted as this great reset occurs. Unlike other resets that have totally destroyed the planet, this reset is going to help liberate the planet. This reset is an agreement between us, the human population. That's why it's so important for us to stay united, not be divided by race, political party, color, creed, country, nationality. We cannot be divided. We must stay unified because we have an alliance with one another and with extraterrestrial beings that are on this planet to help liberate us, because the chaos and the mayhem that has ensued here occurred many, many eons ago. There's a whole planet called the Ancestral Republic where some of our ancestors escaped to during former resets. The Ancestral Republic have people that have returned to help liberate their children, as well as aligning with some so-called giants and other extraterrestrials that are here to help us. This is why, and Chief Mac's going to talk about that tomorrow, you see all the different places being flooded. Why? Because these civilizations, there are many civilizations, extraterrestrial places which are on this earth plane, and other civilizations like the Ancestral Republic have been shielded off from us with ice. There are other civilizations behind ice walls, but they're melting. Why? Because they are entities that are extraterrestrial beings that are using advanced technology to melt those ice walls so that the people can unite with their family members, so that those of us who have ancestors that are on the other side of the ice walls and other civilizations can meet each other. So the extraterrestrials who have been trying to help us, or who have been secretively helping the human population for eons, we're talking about decades, centuries, they can meet the people that they've been helping. You got to be ready. And that's why Chief Mac always says you have to have a good heart, come from a place of love and peace and harmony, because you're going to have that in order to experience what we're about to experience. We keep talking about ascension, but ascension is a state of mind. In order to tap into the higher parts of your brain, in order to fly again, in order to experience this advanced technology and to meet these advanced beings, you have to have a heart that's coming from a good place. You have to be able to accept this new reality into which we're going. Flying cars, civilizations that are made of crystal, meeting beings that don't eat food, but they eat energy. And I'm talking about good energy. Meeting your ancestors who escaped, because when there was one reset here on Earth where the extraterrestrials, the watchers, the custodians who hate human beings, who destroyed the Earth plane, decimated everybody except for the children that were 7 months, and took those children to the Ancestral Republic or to other places to watch over them and let them grow into whatever entities or whatever beings they wanted. And then, during that reset, the whole Earth plane, according to the books that I've read, or the book that I read, and some of the information that I'm getting, some of the ancestors did escape. They decimated a lot of the Earth, but they did escape. And some of them were allowed to live with the 7-month-old children that the extraterrestrials took over to the Ancestral Republic. But this type of information has been completely hidden from humanity. Another thing that's been hidden from us is our origin. Where did we come from? Who created us? Where are these celestial lands from which we allegedly came? How can we go back there? Will we return? How will we help liberate the other beings that have been enslaved? I mean, there's just so much information out there. How are we going to utilize our power to heal ourselves? Who are we going to work with to cure the people that took the shot, unbeknownst to them, knowing that now they have a number that these beings can control and a destiny that they can control because they took the shot? How are we going to liberate them? How are we going to cure them? What type of technology are we going to be able to access in order to gain that type of information and to be able to utilize these technologies that are far, far more advanced than we could ever imagine? You have to have a good heart. You have to have a good soul, knowing that you will utilize this for good, for the good of humanity, for liberating humanity. And this is why it's so important for us on this earth plane to get along with each other. Because if we can't love each other and get along with each other, there's no way in the world we're going to be able to get along with, understand, overstand, and work with the extraterrestrial beings that have come back to help us. PG5D says this planetary matrix has reached fifth density at this time. The periods will be activated and open again very, very soon. Very, very soon. Thank you, Black Coral, who says tomorrow Trump holds a rally in Iowa State Fairgrounds. Remember, he said that there would be a big celebration between Memorial Day of 2025 and July 4th, 2026. And this whole celebration, thank you for saying that, Black Coral, according to him, will be held in the Iowa State Fairground. He said that the 4th of July celebration, he said it was going to be, it would end in 2026. But even here this year would be huge, a huge celebration of independence. Will it be just for Americans or will it be independence for humanity? I would venture to say that the 4th of July celebration is independence for the whole human population. Just like I said, Juneteenth on June 19th was not just about celebrating the slaves or so-called people classified as Black being freed, but they made it a national holiday. And at some point, it may even become an international holiday of June 19th, where all of humanity will celebrate freedom from enslavement. Now, this is something that is not new news to us. We know we've been enslaved. We know we're about to be liberated. And we also know that we're about to experience what Zero Hedge called a debt jubilee of biblical proportions. This is biblical, and it's something that ancient civilizations have always done. Whenever a nation has reached insurmountable debt, the thing that you do is you reset the financial system. You just forgive all the debt. It's based on biblical principles, which are based on ancient principles. What happened is every 7 years, you free the slaves and any people that were working to pay off their debt. You forgive the debt. And governments forgive each other's debts every 7 years. And then you multiply 7 times 7 and you do it again on the 49th year. And on the 50th year, they call it a great jubilee or a great celebration. You then have a huge celebration of liberation from debt. That is going to occur this year. Princess Elizabeth has told us we've entered in the 50th year, the jubilee year. So that very well could be why Trump is going to have this big celebration on the 4th of July from the Iowa State Fairgrounds on tomorrow and the 4th of July. According to Zero Hedge, their publisher or this editor, Tyler Durden, we're going to experience a debt jubilee of biblical proportions. He says, is it coming? It's coming. Are you ready? This was published in December of last year, 2024. If you recall, when this article came out, I told you about it. But it wasn't really that new news because being from a Hebraic bloodline, I told you, I know about the Shemitah. I know about the 7 years of liberation where you're supposed to free the debt slaves and you're supposed to give the land the land a break from tilling the land. Every 7 years, you give it a break. You don't till the land. And on the 49th and 50th year, you have a celebration. So we already knew this. Also on the 24th, when this happened, I want you to look it up. And I reported it then in 2024. The Pope opened portal that he called a Jubilee portal. He opened 7 portals. The first one on the 24th of December. On Christmas Eve, and he called it a Jubilee portal for a reason, because it was a ritual. It was a tradition, but it was a ritual of him opening up the door or the portal, saying that we're now entering into a Jubilee year. I'll get to that in a minute. For thousands of years, or as according to this article, 4,000 years ago, the rulers of ancient Babylon discovered a technique to stave off violent revolts. In ancient times, people often became hopelessly indebted to their creditors. As debts mounted, social unrest would boil over, threatening the stability of an entire ruling system. The rulers of the ancient world understood this dangerous dynamic. Their solution was radical yet very effective. What their solution was to enact widespread debt cancellation that was called a debt jubilee. I showed you on my YouTube channel how in 2022, Judge Anna Vine Wrights had said gold had been put forward to pay off the debt behind the scenes here in America and Australia. You can go and look for that video. I published it, I think, a week ago. I republished it because I showed it in 2022 when she made that declaration. Then I republished it just a couple of days ago just to show you that that had happened. So debt jubilees acted as societal pressures release valves when no other option remained. The practice spread throughout the ancient world and became codified in various civilizations. For example, in the book of in the book of Leviticus, I don't know where I got Revelations, it was formalized that debt jubilees were to happen at the conclusion of a 49th year biblical cycle, 7 cycles of 7 years. This particular writer says, I believe this ancient practice is poised for a major comeback as government, corporate, and personal debt levels today have reached unsustainable heights. And he goes on to talk more about the debt jubilee and what it could look like. In other words, that what we've been talking about as it relates to, or as it is called, NESARA and JASARA, the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, and the global version of that, the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act, will happen in this jubilee year. I do have a video on my main channel that talks about NESARA and how we can see that NESARA is actually happening right now. I show you proof that debts are being wiped out. I show you proof that the IRS has been done away with. I show you proof that major leaders of the world, what countries and CEOs of banks, they have been forced to resign. They've been in prison and such, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll show you what that video looks like as soon as I can find it. Here, it's on my main channel. Let me see if I can look up NESARA. But we see it happening in real time. A part of that is, in fact, a debt jubilee. Well, all the debts will be wiped away. And we will return to a gold standard. So if you go to my main channel here, you will see, go to the live section, you see this says Jubilee of Biblical Proportions is coming, NESARA and JASARA. And on that video, I talk about how we know NESARA and JASARA are actually happening. It's actually happening right now. I show you each tenet and component of NESARA and JASARA and how there is proof. I bring up articles and videos to show you that. You can also go onto my main channel and just type in NESARA and you'll see all my videos on NESARA and JASARA. So things are happening, family. We have entered the golden age. All we need to do now is to keep our vibrations high. And what I mean by that is stay positive. Stay aligned with the highest frequency that you can. Because source or God, as we've been told, you know, there are many gods. There are many creators. There are many entities that have seeded beings across planets. But source, from which all people come, is a frequency. You want to align with God or source, that all you have to do is tap into that frequency, the God frequency. One of the best ways to tap into the God frequency, you guys can put it in the chat. What is the high hertz level that's supposed to be, you know, that raise your vibrations? Listen to music and symbols and instruments that are on a high frequency. What are those frequencies? Somebody please put it in the chat. Also, go out in nature, walk on the earth with your bare feet, walk on the sand, go out in the sun, walk beside the ocean, get in the ocean, you know, love on some plants and trees, talk and to your animals, love your animals, build strong relationships with each other and your family members, and get rid of all, as Chief Mac always said, get rid of the malice, the hate, the anger, the division, all of that religion has created. because religion is a paradigm that was created and put here by the watchers, the custodians, and all these other entities to further divide us. While there are some good components of so-called religious, paradigms, as a whole, it has been used to divide us. If you're not a Christian, you're going to hell. If you're not a Muslim, you're not going to wherever Allah wants you to go. If you don't do this type of religion, then you're not going to thrive. You're not going to ascend into consciousness. And what has happened is families have been divided. Mothers have argued with their children. Children don't have relationships with the grandparents, and we're all fighting each other. We have to stop that. We have to stop saying you're black, I'm white, you're Asian, I'm this. And I'm even going to the point where I'm like, I understand that there were illegal migrants and illegal immigrants here, but if we don't know what side to stand on, stay out of it. My mother-in-law used to always say, if you don't know what to do, do nothing. You don't get in people's business. You stay impartial and you just send positive vibrations, what people call meditations or prayers, and just trust that it'll work out. But allowing ourselves to be divided and hating people because they came from this country or that country or whatever, we're not gonna do that, because we all need each other. We do know that if you're in a place unlawfully, you need to go back, but we're saying it in love, or we're just staying out of it. Because at the end of the day, the war that we've been going through is not us against each other. It's us against other entities, us against other beings that have contracted with humans and governments to keep us enslaved and to keep us from ascending to our highest self, to keep us from knowing from whence we come, to keep us from our ancestors who escaped the earth plane or this planet and went to other places during other resets. But now we're about to come together. We're about to join with our family members, and it's going to be very, very emotional. You have to be ready for this. So I would say, if you're into fasting, fast. Take some time away from eating junk foods. Clean up your diet. Get some clean water. Meditate. Get out in the sun. Love on each other. Turn off any negative music, any negative television. Take a break from social media, because there is something that happens with all the scrolling on the cell phones and watching video after video that enslaves the spirit, the human spirit. And it's not until you put it down and you take a step away from it for a few days that you completely understand and overstand how scrolling on the phone and being so attached to the computer has made you a slave. It has made us a slave. We are so busy on computers and cell phones, we don't have human relations. We're not making love. We're not making babies. We're not getting married. We're not forming covenants. We're not working together to build up our communities. We're not taking care of our elders. It's just so much of what we're not doing. We're not growing food. We're not creating trust so we can operate in trust. There's so much we're not doing. We're not accessing every area of our brain. We're not curing ourselves. So let's take a step back from social media, because somebody on here, it's one of you guys taught me about what they call, black goo, and how when you get so attached to some of these devices, black goo forms and you become attached to some of these devices where you become one with them. And all of that information is now taking over your body and your brain. That's unhealthy. Just think, we already have all these thoughts being bombarded in our head from the technology that these beings that have enslaved the planet is throwing into our head. Then you have all these different, structures that they have up that's bombarding us with energy, frequencies, and thoughts. And now we're attached to all these thoughts on the computer and all these different podcasters, even me, putting stuff in your brain. This podcaster telling you to hate men, that podcaster telling you to hate women, this podcaster saying get money, that podcaster saying, this is how you trick people, this is how you manipulate. Then you scrolling through, watching people lie about their lives, saying my life is better than that person's life. And now we are so confused that we cannot focus on thriving as a whole human race, or whatever you want to call us. We're not thriving in our families, but we're changing this. Are you ready for the biggest and the most amazing so-called reset or restarting of the whole planet that's ever existed? Are you ready for the greatest wealth transfer in the world? Because we've been enslaved for so long that source, or who people are calling the creator, now desires for us to experience what it's like to have gold and silver and precious metals. What's so amazing about precious metals? It's not just precious because it's money. It's precious because it heals you. It's precious because it actually puts your heart in a high frequency, these precious metals. Ingesting monoatomic gold helps you to manifest things quicker than those who don't have that type of technology. Wearing precious metals, having it around you, allows you to open up portals, allows you to access areas of your brain. But it's hard to focus on those things if we're so focused on scrolling. And, it's so bad sometimes. I don't know if you guys have been through this. Even if you're like doing research to do a podcast, you're scrolling. It has been so bad. Here's some disclosure that I've awakened with this in my hand and I'm doing this and I didn't even realize I was doing it in my sleep. That's crazy. It is so bad that you have couples that are out on a date, supposed to be getting to know each other. Everybody's on their cell phone. Whole families, the children are on the cell phone, the mama, the daddy, the waitress even coming, bringing food with a cell phone in her hand, the chef looking at something on the screen while he's cooking. And meanwhile, these entities that have enslaved us is controlling everything and keeping us focused like this while there's so much going on above us, around us, and beneath us. Never again. Never again, family. I will check into that. Thank you. We have to, thank you so much. Raise our vibrational frequencies. And MM said it's called Hertz solfeggio tones. Thank you. I never heard of that. Awakened One calls it solfeggio frequencies. Awakened says it's 432 frequency. PG5D says that I should check into Trevor Grassie's work with the scientists on the Caffrey project. Thank you. Thank you, guys and ladies. Thank you, Sister Harvetter Lassiter Bay. She said, that's right, sister. I don't know where RH blood come from, Billy. Billy J wants to know if anybody knows or has any information on RH negative and where does that RH negative blood type come from. MM said, that's right. Let a global catastrophe or crisis kick in and we'll definitely come together for the sake of survival. Absolutely. We all have to come together. Absolutely. Akia says, I've been fasting since the new moon and I hope y'all's new moon was nice too. I love that. We have to be ready. So let's start listening to music and that vibrate on high frequency and see what that does to our heart chakra and our crown chakra and see how that changes our mentality. Because I can tell you that taking a break from social media has made me feel so much lighter. In fact, it's like how I feel like not being on social media, especially since I was traveling. You guys know I was in Tennessee with my family, so I didn't have a lot of time. I just did a couple podcasts, but I wasn't scrolling or, researching. I was just with my family. And then coming back, I've been back a few days. I haven't been on Facebook, Instagram, or any of that. In fact, I got a new phone. I didn't download any of those apps. I don't want it on my phone. I don't want to see it. I don't want any notifications. I turned off all notifications except for calls. And most people that have my personal number is just family anyway. But none of it. But I can tell you that my heart feels so light now. My soul is like my inner spirit feels like it had been weighed down and like it had been heavy. It feels like, I don't know if you had a deep wound and when that wound is healing, how it still hurts, but you can tell it's getting better. That's how my heart felt. Like it still feels heavy and it still feels sore, but it feels like it's healing. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like I can take a deep breath now, because constantly researching, constantly watching news, constantly seeing reels and things being bombarded every day back to back has made my heart feel so heavy. But now it feels light. So I would encourage us, if you are so inclined, to take a break from anything that can be distracting you from resonating on high frequencies, and just tap into, people are putting in the chat, the high frequencies. There's music that you can listen to. There are frequencies on, I know I said stay away from social media, but if you don't have a radio or whatever, however we used to listen to music, I almost forgot CDs and all that. Now you could go to a YouTube channel, or you can play instruments. Some of you play the piano, you play saxophone, trombone, trumpets. There are high frequency notes that my son told me about. Doug, what are some of the high frequency notes? But my son would tell me about the frequency notes that are operating on a low frequency that focus on the lower chakra. And he was saying how churches play on some of these low frequencies. A lot of music play on low frequencies, and that's why people are consistently sad. I was saying that people can play instruments on high frequencies, right? High notes that will raise their vibrations.
So there's like two concepts. There's the concept that concert A is currently at maybe, I don't know if it's 432 hertz.
Okay.
It should be whatever it is. It's supposed. I think it's supposed to be like 440 is the. I had to look it up.
Okay.
But there's a certain.
I'm listening.
Okay. Some people. Some people say that. Okay. They changed the frequency that the A note is started at.
Okay.
That's where you start the 12 notes of our current musical system.
Okay.
So you have 12 notes in an octave. I can't remember what I think
somebody said on here
440 or 432.
I think they said it's 432.
It's supposed to be 432, or it's currently 432. Whatever it is, there's everything vibrates at a certain frequency.
They're saying 432
is what it's currently at.
I think. Are you guys saying Awaken One? Are you saying it's currently 432? But I was asking them what hertz is the highest frequency. Somebody said 432.
Okay, and then it's something different right now. I don't know if it's 440 right now, but
okay.
But at one point it was a different frequency. Let's say 432 if that's the current thing.
Okay.
And supposedly that resonates more with the frequency that we're vibrating at, because every physical object vibrates at a frequency. Mm-hmm. And then the way music works is it's mathematical. So it's that frequency, when we play a different note, it's a division of that frequency. Mm. So you'll hear like a lot of musicians on YouTube will try to debunk the claim that the previous frequency that music was tuned to, mm-hmm. that's a better frequency. They'll say, oh, it doesn't matter because every note is a different frequency, but every note is a factor or a multiple of whatever frequency that we're starting at, if that makes sense. Okay. So like A is let's say if A was 440, mm-hmm. then an octave of that would be 440 times 2. Okay. Right, and then anything in between that would be a fraction. Mm-hmm. It ends up mattering, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. But everything vibrates at a certain frequency, okay. And you can I'll call them. Okay. And you can so basically when you'll see if you hit a tuning fork, mm-hmm. at a tuning fork at whatever frequency it is. If you have 2 tuning forks, look on YouTube. You have 2 tuning forks. You hit the tuning fork, and if it's the one that you hit is at a different set to a different frequency than the one that you're trying to vibrate, mm-hmm. then the one that you're trying to vibrate won't vibrate. If I'm making sense. But if you if you when you hit the tuning fork, and they're both at the same frequency, whatever tuning fork that you hit, the second one will vibrate.
Wow.
The point being that you have to get the correct frequency in order to vibrate a physical body. So it really does matter which frequency that we're tuning music to.
It is.
Yeah, and then you take into consideration that music isn't it's hard to tune an instrument to be perfect in a perfect pitch. Like we have to I know the main thing is we have to make some what do you call it when you I don't want to do something, you want to do something, and we both what do you call that?
What, agree?
No, yeah, but we agreed, but we both lost. Also, we won and lost. What do you call that? A concession?
Yeah.
We both have to make a concession.
Okay.
Or okay. Well, anyway, so right, so the a third.
I know I caught you off guard. Go ahead.
Well, not really, but the root, whatever root note, the third of that, if we're talking about an instrument, it's not tuned correctly. It should be tuned. I think it's tuned. It might be too sharp, but there's a number of the notes that are tuned wrong. So that matters. But then here's another thing. Can you ask the question again?
So I'm saying like.
And then you mentioned about. I don't mean to cut you off. I remember. You also mentioned about in church we're playing.
Yeah.
We're playing sad music. So when we play a lot of in the black church. We play the so-called black church. The Americans. The brown people in America, or the people we call black people, we play a lot of minor chords.
Okay.
And that's sad. It really is sad.
The minor chords are sad.
The minor chords, major chords are happy. But in the Black American church, we play minor chords and we play dominant 7 chords. A dominant 7 chord is similar to a minor chord. It agitates people. And when you go to the European churches or the white church, the people we call white, when we go to their churches, they play almost all major chords, the 1, the 4, and the 5.
And what's that do?
It keeps you happy.
Wow.
And then but if you keep dwelling on the 6, which is a minor chord, then it makes you sad. Or keep moving to the 2, which is also a minor chord. It makes you sad, and you can see it. I've been a musician all my life. My father showed me when I was a child. He had us, and we were sitting in church. He's like, okay, I'm going to make them cry. It's time for them to cry. And then he was showing us the chords, the pattern of chords. Dang. And they all started crying, boo-hooing. He said, okay, it's been too long. They need to they need to stop crying.
Right.
We need to brighten it up.
Because you're following the order of the service, right?
Right. Okay. We're taking them through a whole range of emotion. And so he had to make them happy because you can't keep them crying. Right. Or they're going to, be, that's horrible.
Right.
And but you take them through a range of emotions. So then you make it into major chords.
Dang.
But you still feel a little. You feel happy, but not so happy.
When I'm in church, I'd be crying all the time, like, "Oh, praise you, Jesus," but really feeling sad.
but that praise you, Jesus, that part where it's like you're in worship. It's a sad and happy. It's like you either put some minor chords or you put some dominant 7 chords instead of the major 7s, or take the 7s out and put the major chords that you're too happy.
Like say, call it chord progressions.
Yeah, chord progressions or yes, a sequence of chords.
Okay,
but you can play. Now they're happy, but it's time for them to dance. Now we have to agitate them. Now you have the dominant chords. So we went from the minor chords because they need to cry. That's what the church service order is, or you need to get sad in the worship.
Worship is sad.
That's the sad part. Okay. Now we have to do to take them out of that because you can't be in that too long. So now we have to brighten it up to the major chords. Okay. And then that's still, you can't just stay major. They say, and you'll hear a lot of musicians say, well, people can't appreciate the sunshine if you don't go through some storms.
That's crazy.
Okay. So we have to bring them through some storms. So now we have to take that major chord and put it on 7 or a flat 7 in there. And that's going to agitate people. And whenever you play a dominant chord, let's say if you're on the 1 and you're playing a dominant chord on the 1, as in the 1, 3, 5, flat 7, now you can play now you can make that a minor. Now you can play a minor scale over that, which is confusing.
Yeah,
but it's beautiful.
Okay.
No, it's confusing. It really is. But that's when they start. That's when they get really agitated. Now they got to start moving their feet, and now they're going to start.
Dun, 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 dun,
yes, major plus a dominant 7 plus a minor.
Okay.
In the same key, it makes people crazy.
Dang.
But then
somebody said the sun gems.
I appreciate it. It's real.
Okay.
It's real. As a lot of the Black American musicians didn't take music. They understand the theory of music, but they didn't take it to where we're all on the same page with terminology, right?
Yeah.
So they can't. A lot of them can't explain it. You have to actually speak to the ones who understand the music theory, know the difference between a major 7, a dominant 7, a minor 7, a half diminished 7, a diminished 7. The diminished 7 is odd too. But then here's another one. The diminished 7 makes people get antsy too. It's because you want to hear the major, and the reason why is because any sound, any one note, has the series. It has it. Okay, any one note had that one note being played. You're also hearing all the overtones or the harmonics, or it's playing every note possible. Right? It's just all the other sounds, all the other individual notes being played is a lot quieter, so you can't you audibly. It's really hard to hear.
But your spirit hears your subconscious. Okay.
No, you hear it. Yes, your subconscious. So your body, you can actually, and if you're trained, you can hear all the other notes or the harmonics that are being played over that one note. As in, woo, that one note. That's an infinite amount of notes that I just sang. That's all ringing at the same time. But you can. I say that to say, but the first number of notes is the major scale. Okay. The first number of notes that's in that overtone sequence or the harmonic sequence is the major scale. That's why the major scale is pleasant. It's because it's almost, that's the basics. It's the basics of music. It's because it's the basis of reality. Everything rings on the major scale, as I'm understanding it. Everything is the major scale plus the infinite notes. But the first series of notes, the loudest notes, are the major scale. Any one note. So any body, any physical body any physical body in existence is vibrating at several frequencies, but one frequency in particular, or what do you call that? Dominant, or one frequency the most.
I got a question for you. Okay, so I'm gonna get off church in a minute, but one of the reasons why when I was in church, I switched from the so-called Black church, which I grew up most of my life, to the so-called white church, because I grew up, like keeping the Sabbath in Black churches in Hebrew, but I went to the Seventh-day Adventist with the white church because the music, which is a great part of service, didn't have me crying, and I couldn't verbalize it, but it's a different type of music. So Black music is called one thing, white music is called conservative Christian.
So
Black music is gospel.
So as I understand it, the Black American music is called gospel. And European
Godspell.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
And then white American music or European music is considered CCM, contemporary Christian music. Yeah. But again, what they do is they simplify they're playing fewer notes than we're playing at a time. At any one time, we're playing more notes than they're playing. But if you simplify it and just break it down to the notes in the major scale, then you get happy. But when you add all these other notes, including the devil's interval, is what they used to call it when you play the devil, there was a point that it's been said that in Europe, I'm going to say it was the Moors that were doing all this, playing the music and everything. But they said the devil's interval or a root plus the sharp fourth, that's a what do you call that? That's a tritone. Okay. And now what this does is it's like the most agitating interval that I'm familiar with, or that we were discussing as musicians, right? But so as I was saying, so we play a lot of that. Whenever we play dominant chords, we're playing the devil's interval between the dominant, between the flat 7 and the 3 is a interval of a sharp fourth.
Okay.
The musicians will understand what I'm saying. It's or if you just measure it out, you'll see what I'm saying. But well, anyway, it like that's what makes people do the dance and shouting. It's really agitating. But whenever you play a note that's outside of the major chord, as in a 1, 3, 5, whenever you play anything outside of that, if you play 1, 4, 5, your ear moves the 4 down to the 3. Or let's play if we're playing a minor chord and we're playing 1, flat 3, 5, and flat 7. So that's a minor 7. What our mind is trying to do is to move all that back to the major chord. So we move the minor third to a major third, and we move the minor 7th to a major 7th.
Okay.
But that's what we're still. It's like if you stay on that minor chord, you're like, okay, when is it going into your brain is saying, when are we going to resolve back to a major chord so that I can be at ease? Otherwise, I'm going to be uneasy. It's going to make me unsettled until I can settle back into the major chord, which is again, that one note is playing the major scale. It's playing the major chord. It's playing a major chord. If you put any of the, this is a little, that's going a little bit above my head, but I'm understanding. But let me ask you, so mainstream music.
Yes. What type of frequency is mainstream music on?
If we're talking about the Black American music, rap is always playing on the 6, which is a minor. It's always a minor.
Which is a low frequency.
It's not, nothing's good or bad. As I see. Right. The philosophy that nothing's good or bad. It just is, but it's definitely unsettling. That's it makes you sad. But then when you switch to European music, it's the church and in the so-called worldly music. And when you switch to European music, it goes back to the major chords, the 1, 5, 4. The 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord, because those are all major chords.
So okay, let's say rap music is on the 6.
It's on the 6, or sometimes they'll play a Phrygian scale, which is on the 3rd, but it's again a minor. Or sometimes they'll play on like the mode that's on the 3. It's still a minor scale, but it's what you're gonna say though.
Somebody said, what about when pastors are hooping?
Oh, that's when we have to put the dominant 7 there. That's when you have what I mentioned, the most confusion that you can possibly have in music. It's when he's doing the hooping.
When I said Jesus,
it's the same pattern as the shouting music.
Jesus is coming.
All right, so we start on the 1.
Okay.
I said Jesus 1, but it's really like a 6.
Okay.
It's really like playing a 6 because it's minor. It's weird. Okay. It's weird. So we start on the 1. So we're playing the 1, the flat 7. Let's say however you build it, but in this order we'll play the 1, the 3, the 5, and the flat 7. That flat 7 is agitating because if it's supposed to be a major 7 in order, you're not supposed to be, but that's what the sequence, the regular sequence is. Okay. So you put the dominant 7, and then you play that. So we're playing a major chord with a dominant 7, and then you play in the same key a minor scale. You play the minor
confusing because you're doing major and minor at the same time.
You're playing major and minor at the same time. Yes, and dominant 7 at the same time. Okay, so that's the 1. That's just on the in Jesus. So you play that 1 chord, the dominant 7, and you play the minor scale over it. And then go to the 3. And that's also a dominant chord. That 3 is a dominant chord. Okay. But that agitates people. You can either play the 3 dominant, or you can play the 3 as a minor chord. But we're just walking up to the 4. Now that 4 is also a dominant chord. We're all playing all dominants, and then we go up a half step. Now we have to play a diminished chord. That's wild. Like that's the one that is the most of the simple chord that you can really make you can play a whole cluster of chords and you can make it more tension. But that's the most tension out of the simpler chords, right? the dominant 7. So that's the 4 sharp. Then you go to the 5. That's another dominant chord. Even though the 5 is major, we're playing that. We're playing the in whatever key we're in. We're playing the 5, 7, 2, and 4, which is basically it's called like a 5/7 chord. The 5 is now a dominant 7, and then you walk back up chromatically. We just walked up chromatically 3, 4, half step up 5. Now we walk up chromatically 6, half step up, which is the flat 7, 7, and then to the 1, and all those are dominant chords.
So what does that mean in layman's terms?
It means it's crazy, and you're going to go wild. Okay. I mean, I
it's know. Confusing.
It's confusion.
No, somebody.
But it's beautiful.
It's beautiful and confusing.
Oh yeah.
What's it called? You're a beautiful liar. Like it's okay. Well, what about somebody wants to know about classical music? What about classical piano pieces by Chopin? Are they okay?
I mean, okay is a subjective.
Relative.
Yeah, right. So, but are they more major oriented? Yeah. I have to listen to more of the music, but in general, yes. However, they play all the chords we play. They play major chords, minor chords. If we're talking about, I don't know this particular, I know this artist, but I can't just pick it in my head because I'm not a classical player necessarily, but I can play whatever they're playing, and I listen to it, but I just don't know who's the artist, and I don't pay attention that hard.
Overall, classical music, what chords are they playing?
They're going to go through the whole gambit, of course, but they're going to stick to the main chords are going to be the major chords.
The major chords, which is more more uplifting than sad. Or?
Yeah, it makes you happier than sad.
Okay, so we talked about rap music. We talk about pop music. What about pop music?
Again, that's going to be the 1, 4, 5. That's all major chords. Usually.
All major chords. So it's a little more.
It makes you a little happier.
They're happier. So, but the rap music is really keeping people confused. That's what it sounds like to me.
No, yeah, the rap music. Yeah, I mean, when you add, okay, you're playing mostly. You're just staying on the 6. You're not moving from there. You're just staying on the 6.
Okay.
And so like the bass is just, it's just staying on the 6, and then the melody, they stay on the 2. They like I can't
think of a rest.
No, it's not that I can't think of. Daryl's better with the vocal, being able to
explain.
Being able to sing notes better than I can.
Okay.
Or Dexter, but but they'll stay on the 2, which is a minor. It's not it's not a chord that they're playing. They're just singing a single note, but they're 2 2 2 2 1. 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 1 2 2 2 1 2 1 2 2, whatever it is, whatever rhythm it is.
What is it with the 2?
The 2. If you built a chord off the 2, it's a minor. What I'm saying is it's all based on minors. The bass is on the 6.
Okay.
The chord is based off of the 6, so it's a minor chord based on the 6. Okay. So it's a 6 chord. The lowest note that we're playing is the 6. No, the 6. The chord is the 6th chord of the scale, and then the melody is harping on the 2.
Dang.
That
sounds like low frequency.
I mean, yeah, and then you add, so it's all minor, and they won't move off of it. You know, a lot of other music has a progression of chords, or what they call it, a chord progression or a sequence of chords. Rap music, you just stay on one freaking chord or 2 chords. And it's like, so you don't go through the whole range of emotions. You just stay sad and mad. Sad and mad. And, and then with that awesome rhythm and that bass, I mean, that kick.
And we love the kick.
Oh, yeah. So you start dancing sad and when you're, and sad is similar to mad.
Yeah.
Like it's a similar type of emotion. Like a lot of emotions, we have a bunch of words for them, but it's really kind of just positive and negative.
Yeah.
So you add that plus the crazy lyrics, they're gonna kill each other. Damn. I mean, no, you have to do it. Like I said, when we was in church, they had no other choice but to cry. When I play cry, and when I know how to do this, I do this. I have to. This is my job.
Yeah.
I have to make them cry at the right time, or do the negative sounding or or sad the minor chords, because this is music, right? And then I have to bring it to They cry when they're supposed to cry.
Yeah.
They dance when they're supposed to dance. and they smile and sing when they're supposed to sing.
I think that's
because it's just the chords.
And I think that's when I started waking up, because you've been our children have been musicians since you were little, and when you actually taught me we can make people cry by pushing this note, I was like, oh my God, this is a program.
Yeah, and as a musician, you have to be very responsible. What's that? Responsible, or there's another word, but have ethics. You don't want to you don't want to depress people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to give them what they want.
Yeah, yeah.
They want the range of emotions. When somebody's talking about the sad thing that happened in their life during testimony service, they don't want you to play all major chords.
Right.
That might agitate them.
Right. Okay.
No, they're sad. You have to match the situation. But
thank you.
This is what as musicians, you have to be responsible and understand what every chord does, what every interval of between notes does to people. An interval is a space between notes.
Okay.
You have to understand what all that does, and then you have to keep them more happy than sad. But if you just listen, it kind of sounds like maybe evil the way I'm explaining it. But that's just because I know how to explain it.
Yeah.
To whatever extent that I'm explaining it.
Yeah.
Right. But what was I saying? But just keep them happier than sad. Right.
Okay.
But again, we have to do our jobs. And then if you listen to every musician who understands music theory, YouTube them talking about music, they'll tell you in every song, you want to bring people through the range of emotions. Again, people don't appreciate the sunshine if they've not had rain.
Dang.
So it's not good or bad. It simply is.
It is.
But we can just manipulate things to fit whatever purpose that we're to accomplish whatever we're trying to accomplish.
Somebody said you could feel it through your chest.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful too. That's why I started on the bass. Because you play that note and you can feel it vibrating everything, your chest, that empty cavity in your chest, your organs, you can feel it. And so I know that. And so I would play, and I'm like, I'm the instrument that can touch people, and I can make them
the
shake.
Bass. Yeah,
I
remember watching you play the bass.
Oh man,
I remember women just going crazy when you hit certain.
Okay, this part might be maybe I shouldn't
go see it.
Okay. So I know I play my bass. I'm hitting people. I'm punching them in the chest, kicking them in the chest. Kicking them in their stomach, kicking them in their organs, and kicking them in their vaginas. And I make them do all shaky and
they be shaking and gyrating.
All vibrating
I've seen women vibrating to the bass in church, and I'm sitting up here like, oh my God.
You don't have a choice. It vibrates me. It vibrates my genitals. I know, graphic, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Sound waves. Somebody said it's the sound waves. Thank you so much, son. I know I caught you off guard and you were resting, and I'm just asking you all these questions because what I'm saying is we need to vibrate on higher frequencies. Doug, I'm talking to you in order we got to break away from the matrix and listen to music that's going to raise our consciousness, that's going to make us be more positive and more happy. And I think we have the ability to do that. We have the control. We have the ability to control our emotions and our environment if we just tune into the right frequencies.
And we know the math. We know the math. It's not a complicated situation. You just retune the instruments from, if it's currently at 432, whatever the frequency it was at before, we set it there for a particular reason. And really, you can really set it to any frequency. Just figure out what the body is vibrating at, set it to a similar frequency, and then every note is going to be a division of that particular whatever our
somebody said
subject is.
They're saying you're very knowledgeable and very handsome.
Thank you.
Someone also says stay away from the 808s, and I always hear them say. I hear Beyonce say 808, and
that's that real low bass that but that's the thing that we really enjoy. But musicians. I mean, I have to I know what it is. I have to study it a bit more to understand exactly what's going on, but it vibrates you. I've
heard them say 808 on that frequency.
We love the 808. But again, we love to go through the range of emotions
as musicians,
as humans.
Oh, okay.
As living creatures, we go through a range of emotions.
Somebody said Sly Stone was positive. I don't know who that is though.
I have to look him up.
Okay. Okay. Anything you want to say to the Soul Tribe about music? Like, just like if we're trying to keep our vibration high, any words as a musician, what should we be? I know you said you as humans we go through the range of emotion, but is there anything that as a musician you would like to say that will encourage people, just as it relates to music?
Okay, so we can do things systematically and we can do things on an individual level.
Okay.
Systematically, we'd have to take whoever is in charge out of power, right? Because they know the math. A lot of people know the math who are musicians. We know the math. They know the math, and they're intentionally setting it to the most disruptive frequency that they can possibly set it at, and putting everything into minors, and they're intentionally trying to make us murder each other, and it works because it's a simple math equation.
You said minors as in minor notes.
Minor notes,
okay.
Minor chords,
okay.
minor chords.
Okay.
And then okay, so systematically you have to take the people out of power who's currently in power.
Okay.
But on an individual basis, listen to music in the whatever frequency they say is the positive frequency. They've done enough studying to at least to have at least have a reason to say it.
Okay.
I would choose whatever frequency that people are studying that they think is the correct frequency. Listen to that frequency, because I won't know until I can go through the range of frequencies and I can test the human body and see what happens vibrationally with that body.
Okay.
I can't tell you the exact frequency, but whatever's being studied and whatever frequency they say is the positive frequency, listen to music at that frequency.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, it's kind of, I mean, it's horrible that they have the so-called Black Americans. All our music is utter nonsense. Listen to less Black American music. That's hard to say,
but it's true.
Yeah, but it's real. We don't control our music. Again, the people in controls they write the music for the rappers. The rappers aren't writing all that. Let's shoot the next person. Let's have sex with that other man's wife. The rappers aren't writing this. It's written and it's given to them. Look it up. All the rappers will tell you this. And the music is written. It's written by musicians who are Black American, and it's written by musicians who are European American. But it's written by, whenever you get to that level, you have to be a part of a brotherhood or basically the Freemasons or some sect of them. And then they force you into sticking with whatever the program is. We own for the Black American music, you have to play on the 6. You have to go, the melody has to do that, on harp on the 2. It has to be a repetitive pattern. That's only like I don't know, 2 bars of repetition. No chord progressions. That's what you have to do for the Black Americans in their music. If you write their music, that's what you have to do. But to answer your question, what can we do? Stop listening to that's hard to say, man. Stop listening to the Black American music that's currently out because it's all set for murder. Well,
they're saying something about Tibetan bells or different bells of any sizes.
Oh, right. And so these, again, this is not a secret piece of information. The math is the math. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world. The math is the math. So the Asians know the same math that the entire world can easily, anybody can. The birds know the math. The birds don't sing on stupid frequencies. The birds sing in anyway. So yes, the
that was a good point though. Maybe we can listen to birds singing.
I've gone on one of the balconies over in Louisville that I was living on, and played music, and the birds would sing with me. First I'd listen, hear what general key that the birds around me were singing in. So I started playing in that key.
Wow.
And so then they started noticing that that we're interacting, and then so they started interacting with me more,
so
and will fly up and perch on away from me enough that I can't snatch them, but close enough to show that we're interacting. The squirrels would come and they would stand, and now we're all interacting. I'm not even. This isn't a joke. So when you see that, was it Snow White that was singing with the birds, and the birds can come and land on her and all that? Yeah. This is a real phenomenon.
Wow.
But back to the monks or the Asians with the bells. Right, there is the certain size to produce a very particular frequency, which vibrates the body. And then what happens when you vibrate something, it makes movement, right? In order to, like, if you have a clog, there's different people who've spoken about this. You have a clog in anything, but let's say in our somewhere in our body, in the what do you call these, the veins, you have a clog. I can declog it by vibrating, shaking, which is by using sound.
Wow.
I can, if I play the right note, and your body shakes, everything in you shakes, and now it unclogs you. It allows things to pass.
Wow.
Right. So you really need the correct frequency. If you play the incorrect frequency, again, frequencies move things. You can like they say that the what do you call that? The pyramids were built using sound frequency.
Yeah.
So we you direct the sound and from two or multiple directions. You send it to the rock, and you can lift it, levitate it, and move it.
Oh my gosh.
But it moves things. As in, if I play the wrong sequence of frequencies at the same time, I can move things in your body and move it from where it was, and it mess you up. Dang. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Like any structure, if whatever structure that's built when it's structurally sound, if I start moving beams around, it's no longer structurally sound. Okay. Now it might not work to that extreme, but it's some level of that it's really messing.
Don't they say that music, bells, and different sound frequencies can literally heal your body?
It can heal you or kill you.
Or kill you. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's simple math. And it's not hidden.
It's not hidden.
Google it.
Okay.
I
think we should start using music to heal people, and to do positive things. We got to reverse all the things that the deep state has done, on the Illuminati, cabal, whatever you call them. And the same tool that they use to keep us oppressed and depressed, we can use to raise our frequencies.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can stop the murder if I change the music. I swear to God, or to whomever. I can stop the murder, and I can stop the most of the violent crimes if I change the music. I promise you.
I believe that. So thank you, son.
Oh, you're welcome.
I appreciate you. Sorry I caught you off guard when you were resting, but I thank you for taking the time to talk to us, and be glad when you get your podcast started back up.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can teach. I know you teach music. You got students that you teach to, but so you can teach on a larger scale, and so we can talk about things like this to heal the family.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you so much. That was Douglas Lattimore. Somebody says once your liver drops below 50% functionality, you get disease.
And the thing is, to relate it to what we're saying, if I play the right frequency and push it against your body, or as long as the frequency is strong enough to vibrate that liver, I can move the heavy particles that are in your liver out out from the position that it's currently in. And that when we're talking about a percentage of functionality, we're talking about clogs.
Okay.
Right? It's just something's clogged. If you mostly, right? If you can clear the clogging, you bring up the functional percentage. Right. So I can massage the clog out physically with my fingers through your stomach and get to the whatever this is, the liver, was it said? Right. or I can or I can rinse it out by using water, putting enough water in your body to it where it rinses out, or I can use sound and vibrate that clog out.
Wow.
I mean, it's and then there's other reasons for the functioning being low, but a good portion of that is from clogging.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, family, that's my son, Douglas Lattimore, who has been a musician since he was a child. He does have a YouTube channel. Are you operating on your YouTube channel at all, Doug?
Not yet. I will be, but I have a couple videos up, but I haven't done anything in.
Do you want people to follow you on YouTube?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I definitely appreciate it.
What's your YouTube channel called?
My name, Douglas Lattimore, or it's the Sultan.
Okay, that's the one I was looking for.
Yeah, I done changed it to the Sultan.
Okay, let me see if I can find that one. You and I have done a couple of class on there.
Yes.
I see it, but I can't see the name.
If you type my name in, it'll pull it up.
But it also brings up your cousins.
Right.
Okay, here it is. Okay, I'm gonna show everybody your YouTube channel. Okay. He talks about things like love and marriage, relationships. You're welcome. And it's the Sultan. What else do you talk about? Have you talked about much on your channel?
I've gone through a range of things. I've talked about I did something on pornography, why pornography needs to end. Mm-hmm. I've discussed whose fault is it, talking about for the Black Americans, whose fault is it for the problems in our community? Mm-hmm. Is it the Black American men, or is it the Black American women's fault for the problems in who's most to blame? Okay. And my conclusion was that it was the Black American men's fault, because we lost the war. There was a war that there was an invasion here in America, and we lost the invasion. Because we lost the invasion, now we're subject to whoever's in charge. The outside government who's now hegemony over us, or however you call that. That is, we're subject to the invading force. Okay. Whatever they choose to do, as in if they choose to murder us, that's just what it has to be, because we're subject to it. We lost the war. If it's murder, if it's changing our music so that we sleep with everybody's women, and we make all the women into whores, and we make all the men into unproductive men, and ineffective punk men. We just have to accept it. So it was the men's fault. And then
it's that way to go, Douglas. Somebody says they're going to follow you.
I appreciate it,
and they're saying thank you. They say, I hear that, son.
I also talk about race relations, and that's where it gets that can be
controversial.
It can be controversial, but the thing is, if you listen to what I'm saying, it's not about harming anybody. It's about setting things straight. There was an invasion around the entire globe, and the men lost. The men lost, and they murdered all the brown people. But like for real, like that's why Asia is no longer brown. That's why South America is no longer brown. That's why Europe is no longer brown. It's why Australia is. It's why in the whole world there's more albinism than or there's such a high level of albinism, and not in a lesser amount of non-albinism on the planet. And I'm not saying that albinism is bad or good, or that non-albinism is bad or good, but there is currently still a war, and we need to realize that there's a war, like in India, East India, the East Indians in India. That caste system that's been in place, it's the same thing. It's about murdering the brown people and reproducing as close to albinism as you could possibly reproduce. But now again, nothing is good or bad. It simply is. But you can change it, and you don't have to harm people in the process. Now, everything is well, the main thing is, it's complex. It's a very complex issue.
So hold on, somebody said YouTube might take this down. Is it on Rumble? It's not.
Ooh, I've said too much.
No, I don't know. I had a hard time connecting Rumble. I've been having a hard time connecting my Rumble to StreamYard, but I did go through phases like that where I get censored like that. Hold on, Doug. Somebody wanted to know about low vibrational food. Is there such thing as low vibrational foods?
So when we use the word vibration, it's it's. I understand what they're saying, but what definition are we using? Are we using the actual definition, or a what's that other word that's like the accepted the connotative? Is it a connotative definition, or is it?
He wants to know, what do you mean by low vibrational food? Somebody, people are saying they're following you now. Go ahead.
I appreciate it. Well, okay, so I understand the question.
Okay.
So eat foods.
The processed food.
Processed foods. If it's not a fruit, if it's not really, we've come to the conclusion that fruit is the most valuable thing that we can eat.
We have come to that conclusion, yes.
But if it's not a living plant in the living plant form, then it's going to kill you. Even the living plants are going to kill you, but it's going to kill you a lot slower than anything that's not a living plant. Yeah. As in, if it doesn't look like an apple, don't eat it. If it doesn't look like a berry, don't. If it's not in the berry form, don't eat it. I mean, you use. I mean, it's hard to actually do this, but I mean, if we want to be as correct as possible, if they turned it into some type of juice and put it into a bottle, that's not a berry.
Wow.
That is a something else.
Wow.
If it's turned into a chip, it is not a potato.
Dang.
It's a something else.
Dang. Thank you. Somebody said I did a wonderful job raising you.
I appreciate
so
it.
You're saying the closer to being living fruits and vegetables, but particularly fruit is the best.
It's the best. As in, if it's not the plant in the plant form, don't consume it. If it's not water, don't consume it. If you didn't squeeze the fruit, don't drink the juice.
Dang.
Okay. I mean, but again, everything's going to kill us. Right. So, just use caution.
Yeah, use wisdom and do the best that we can. Even the fruits and vegetables now, they don't taste the same as when I was a child. Tomatoes taste nothing like they did when I was a child. Now you can hardly taste the tomato. But it used to have a rich, a hearty flavor. It was like it was juicy. It was almost lemony, but I can't even tell you because I was like 8. I haven't tasted tomato that tastes like a tomato since I was like 8.
They have these things called a flavor saver tomato, which is the mixture of a fish that has antifreeze properties that lives in the Arctic.
Wow.
And they took those genes and they put it into the seed of the tomato. And then the tomato grows now. This flavor saver tomato grows as a tomato fish. Or it looks like a tomato, but it has a lot of the genetics of the fish. So now it has the antifreeze properties of the fish. So now it doesn't freeze in the cold environments in the northern parts of our country. So now you can grow it all over the country.
I see. And
then it has a longer shelf life. It doesn't deteriorate, or how you call it, decompose as quickly. So now it can sit on the shelf longer. So they've changed the genetics of the plants intentionally to kill us, first off. And the other byproduct is that they're able to preserve the foods longer, right? But they're again, it's a war.
Yeah,
it's not a it's a total war.
Yeah,
it's a total war. In the most serious way I can say this, it is a total war. They are really murdering us, and I'm not supposed to say that word, so I could say another word. I won't use that word.
They say unalive now. We have this, but it's not as powerful.
It's not as powerful.
M word,
right? I mean, now we have to say a whole bunch of silly. Because
unalive, you hear live, you don't even hear the un.
We have to speak silly and stupid when we're trying to talk about serious situations. Even that's a form of harming us. And now we have to say unalive. We have to say smexual, smoked. We have to we have to say we can't even say the JAB. Now, we have to use an emoji of a glove punching somebody. We have to talk. We have to say grape
instead.
So now people are laughing every time we talk about a serious subject.
Like sexual assault.
Yes, because we say, oh, and then she got raped and something. You even have like the people, they'll like, it's like a smile because you're saying something stupid.
Yeah.
But now now you can't take anything serious.
Yeah, you're right.
It's crazy, man.
I know. I didn't mean to get you riled up. You had to walk away.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's serious. Like you said, it's crazy. We've been in a war. But as we said earlier, we have to raise our vibrations. We have to eat more healthily, drink water, get some sunlight, stay away from processed foods, stay away from low vibrational music. For all my friends that go to church, I'm telling you, my sons have been musicians and my daughter all their lives. They will say that a lot of church music plays on the chords that are minor chords, which keeps you low vibrational, keeps you sad, keeps you crying. So if you must go to church, you want to balance that music out. Or don't go to where they have that low vibrational music. Do something to raise your vibrations. That is the point of this podcast, because so many things are happening. We're heading into a whole new reality. We're having a whole complete reset. And that means they're starting everything over. The monetary system, the rivers and lakes are going to start springing forth. The deserts are now going to change because water, the ice walls are melting, and lakes, rivers, all that's going to spring up out of the ground. We're going to find new foods and new seeds, especially with these ice walls coming down, and these different areas on the planet that have been covered are now going to be exposed. You're going to meet your ancestors that are in the ancestral republic. Those are humans that escaped other resets and they went beyond the ice walls and they're living there. You're going to meet some of them. You're going to meet other extraterrestrial beings. You're going to experience highly or more evolved technology or advanced technology where you'll be able to cure and heal yourself. Some of you will be able to cure and heal yourself without that technology because you have healing in your hands. You're going to rediscover how to touch your body and touch other people's body and cure them. I'm saying the word, you're not supposed to say cure. I'm saying you're going to cure them. You're going to heal them. We're going to learn how to access every area of our brain. If you follow Dr. Jewel Pookrum, she is a sister that studies the areas of the brain. She talks about how we only use a small percentage of our brain, but we used to access every area of our brain. And we used to do things with our brain, like go through walls and manifest and fly and all those things. We're about to go back to that time period of being able to access those type of gifts or abilities as we experience this reset. So stay positive, stay encouraged, operate on a love frequency. As Chief Mack would say, get rid of anything that's not loving. If it's hate, if it's division, if it's chaos, whatever, let's get rid of it. And let's vibrate on the highest frequency that we can. We can look it up. Like my son Douglas says, it's all researchable. The scientists have done the research. They've done the math. They know which frequencies will move you to a place of positivity and will help you to access your highest self. So we can research that and operate on those frequencies and reject any frequencies that are not in alignment with us ascending to our highest self. So that's it, family. You've heard from my son, Douglas Lattimore, and you heard from me, Dr. Kia Pruitt. I hope I've said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. You can follow my son, Douglas Lattimore. His YouTube channel is called The Sultan. That's THE space SULTAN. He's a very serious son. He's the one that everybody in my family goes to when they get sick. He'll give them smoothies or juices and study different plants to figure out what's going on. He knows how to do massages to massage certain things out of your body. When people get sick, I had a niece who had a problem where she was about to lose her baby. I don't know what he did for her, but the doctors couldn't keep her baby in her womb, and he was able to do that. Just tuning into his highest self and studying. He is very serious. He doesn't party. He doesn't hang out with folk. He told one of his students, his music students, who said, "I don't have any friends." He said, "Don't worry, I'm in my 30s. I have one friend. That's somebody I grew up with, and I haven't seen him in a couple years. Other than family, he has one friend, his god brother, who he was raised up with. But he doesn't hang out with folks. He thinks on such a high level. He's got very, very brilliant, got a lot of information in his brain. He was doing research with the head of the physiology department when he was like 13, the head of the physiology department at the School of Medicine at the University of Louisville School of Medicine, where I worked. The chair of the physiology department contracted with him to do cancer research. And he did, I think it was diabetes research. Then he did cancer research, not only with the physiology department, but he went over to the biochemistry department, and he did some cancer research there. He was like 13 and 14. Before that, he was doing work in engineering labs. He was in engineering programs. He was studying higher level math as a very small child. All my children were. They were studying trigonometry, geometry, calculus, all those higher level maths when they were in elementary school. They were doing AutoCAD. Yeah. What else were y'all doing? Y'all doing all kind of stuff with your Uncle David, because we had our own school.
Yeah, he was a mechanical engineer, and Dad was an electrical engineer.
So my husband, their father, he was an electrical engineering technologist, and his Uncle David was a mechanical engineer. And so, I studied psychology, sociology, economics, and political science, and I made that into a discipline called, it was an interdisciplinary study. We called it social science. Then I went into counseling and higher education. But we put all of our knowledge together, and my sister-in-law had a master's degree in business and an undergrad degree in education. So we were in the B system, but we took the knowledge that we had to create a school, and we birthed and raised brilliant geniuses, honestly. So our children don't hang out, they don't kick it, they don't party, they're serious with life. They sometimes I have to tell them to have a little fun, but they just don't hang out with people. They believe in a marriage culture, haven't been enter into covenant, that type of thing. If you don't even have a marriage license, at least enter into a covenant. They believe in gender roles. Especially my sons, especially the oldest, because he has had all the weight of the family on him as the eldest, having to be the example. So he had no kids out of wedlock. He's not been married yet. He's waiting for a specific type of woman. He wants a woman that's feminine. He prefers a woman that is chaste, preferably a virgin, chaste, at the very least chaste, and not out there. Don't want to party, or don't want anybody that want a feminist, but she can be feminine but not be a feminist. He believes in order, structure. He gets angry when you talk about women being sexually assaulted, when you talk about men being disrespected, women being disrespected, children not being raised properly, because his family was always we were serious. Even though he doesn't believe in a church doctrine, he was raised in church. He is a musician. He understands and overstands why we raised him in church. But my children were the first to leave church before I did, because they were like, this is foolishness. We're musicians. We get to see how people are being controlled through music. And we know pastors, as they were like ministers of music at 9 and 10 at different churches. And they were like, we know the pastors, we know the prophets, we see how they're getting down. We see the relationships they're having outside their marriages. We see how they treat the first lady. I mean, they were just telling me all kind of stuff. We see how the women in church are like coming on to us, and we're children and we're teenagers. And when they got grown, they said, we compete with the pastor for women. The pastor, we had get into it with pastors because they get mad because the women in the church want to have relations with us or be married to us when that's the one the pastor had his eye on, or he was sleeping with him. So they were like, you know what, this is foolishness. They left the church before I did. And they showed me videos on how religion was used. I'm not saying religion is bad, but it can be used for good or bad, and how it was used to divide people. And they were like, we see way too much to be okay with some of the teachings, and we understand the structure of the church, how the synagogue and churches are organized, with the pastor up here, the people down there, and the music, how it's played to bother people's emotions. So I'm just saying all this to say that he's a very wise young man. I raised them not only in our children's school, they were in public school. We took them out and we trained them and raised them ourselves. And then we had them also participate in summer programs that we controlled, or our friends controlled, our friends who were engineers, our friends who were journalists, our friends who were doctors. They shadowed doctors as children. He shadowed heart doctor. He was going to be a cardiologist at one point. He studied heart doctors. Then he went to study biochemistry. And then he eventually said, you know what, I've been in college since I was a baby. You had me in college since I was in your womb. I want to go make some money. And he studied real estate. He became the youngest real estate broker in Kentucky as a teenager. So he's done a range of things. And then he stopped doing real estate at a high level in order to take care of his father, who was sick. And he was the main caretaker of his father. He took care of him. He changed him. He cleaned him. He fed him. Gave him medicine, So that meant that he wasn't able to get married or to focus on relationships, because his first primary goal was taking care of his dad, make sure I was okay, and making sure he was a good example for his younger siblings, because there are 8 of them and he's the eldest. So that's why he's very serious. He got a lot of stuff going on in his brain at the same time. So sometimes when he's talking, like all this information he's trying to get out at the same time. But he's very serious minded, very family focused, very health conscious. You see, he's got dreadlocks. He's very nature oriented. He loves spending time in nature. He prefers to walk rather than drive. He's driving now, but he really, really liked walking and going out in nature. You saw him at a rainforest in a picture that I pulled up. People were saying, don't climb the rocks when we were in Puerto Rico. Don't go up there. Don't go that far. You're going to slip. You're going to die. You're going to fall. He said, I'm not afraid. I prefer to live in nature. So we were in a rainforest, and he climbed the highest rocks just to get to the water, see the animals. And everybody else was standing on the outside just watching them. I have pictures of that. And so the men saw him. He was the youngest of all the men that were around. We were just looking at how glorious the waterfall was. He took his shoes off, walked up the rocks, the mountains, and then the men were like, you know what, he did it, we could do it. And he inspired all the men that were from all different parts of world, different countries that had come to Puerto Rico to see this big, amazing fall. And they went out there. They didn't climb as high as he did, but they followed his lead. He's just a great leader. He's been to Africa. He's been to Ghana, a couple African countries. He's been to South America, Central America, I think. He's met with mayors in Ghana. He's met with chiefs, entrepreneurs, just trying to figure out how he can resolve certain problems that are happening in America. He and my other children are friends with Malcolm X's family, with Malcolm X's eldest daughter. She has become Ambassador Shabazz, the ambassador for Belize. She has become like a godmother to them, especially my younger son. But like they know people higher up. They've played with top musicians, like played alongside them when they came to Louisville or came to different places, or they went and traveled and played with, so-called top entertainers and musicians. They've done some amazing things. Even as children, they were pages for governors and mayors in the state of West Virginia and Ohio. So we did a phenomenal job with our children, but it was very intentional. And all praises to the ancestors and to the creator, to source, who put it in my sister-in-law's heart to create something for our children. This is an opportunity with all these major corporations failing and all these banks failing. for us to create the reality that we desire to see for our children. We can now create schools. We can create our own banks by having silver and gold. We can, and having gold backs. Gold backs you can get for like less than $4 now. It's real gold, real 14 karat gold pressed onto a note. 14 karat 0.999 pure gold, silver coins, silver bullion. All this you can get right now for a few dollars. Gold backs for a few dollars. Silver's probably about $36 an ounce. Just get what you can afford. Get you some foreign currencies, because those currencies will revalue. They have to revalue because wars are now coming to an end. We're entering to an era of peace. So all the currencies worldwide that have been devalued because of war and sanctions will now be reinstated back to their normal value based on the precious metals and rare earth minerals and oil that each country has. Now, all of their resources will back their currencies. They were going to be reinstated or revalued. That is going to happen. We have ushered into that era. Now that Trump has made a trade agreements with China and trade agreements with the Middle East, he's brokered peace between Iran and Israel. He's brokered peace between the Congo and Rwanda. That war was going on for more than 30 years. You guys have seen Hotel Rwanda. That story is crazy. But now, I showed you in my podcast that I did the other day, I don't know if it was my main channel, or I think it was my main channel, how Trump has brokered peace between them. The Congo is one of the most wealthiest nations in the world. In fact, when it comes to rare earth minerals and certain resources, they are the wealthiest nation in the world. I know America is in terms of a lot of resources, but the Congo is known for being extremely wealthy. Now there's peace between the Congo and Rwanda, and all those factions that caused war there have had to leave the region. So we have entered an era where all these currencies, family, will be revalued. Get you some foreign currencies as much as you can afford. Don't break the bank because you still have to live, but get some Iraqi dinar. Their currency will revalue. Get some Afghanistan currency, the Afghani. It will revalue. Get some Vietnamese dong. It will revalue. Get you, what else? Venezuelan Bolivar. It will revalue. Get some Zimbabwean Zim. It will revalue. Study the countries. See what resources they have in those countries. See which countries have been devalued through war or sanctions. Now knowing that the wars are over and sanctions have been lifted, those currencies will go and be revalued. So what happened was, I told you all earlier, what gave the United States dollar financial and economic hegemony, or the world reserve status, what gave the dollar world reserve status, and what made the United States have financial economic hegemony was the United States incorporated agreement with Saudi Arabia to protect the Saudi kingdom in exchange for their oil, and therefore force all nations to get oil for Saudi Arabia using the dollar. If those countries didn't want to use the dollar, or they try to use, gold or silver, or they wanted to come up with a new arrangement, they would decimate, United States Incorporated would decimate those countries through war and or sanctions, which then would devalue their currency. So while there was war and sanctions put on countries like Kuwait, like Iraq, the people in the know, CEOs of banks, people high up in the military, people part of certain brotherhoods and bloodline families and or secret societies would buy those countries' currencies that had been devalued through war and sanction. They would wait. Now the currency that had thrived is sanctioned through war. This currency would go down. The infrastructure would be dismantled through war. They would buy those currencies. Now they've been devalued. It used to be $3 to one USD. Now it's 15 cents or less. Buy it when it's devalued through war. Hold on to those currencies, because after the war, the United States, which have funded both sides of the war, would then go into those countries, rebuild the infrastructure, okay, which would then raise the GDP of those countries, and the country's currency would then revalue or be reinstated back to its pre-war value. Then they would say, oh, guess what? I bought the currency when it was devalued through war, but now it has been revalued or reinstated. Now that the war is over, they would go to the bank with the new rate, the higher rate, and become billionaires overnight. Well, Source and whoever else is in power that desires for us, all of us, to experience this great wealth, allow us to get the knowledge. And this is why I'm saying invest in the currencies. I talk about it in my special group, but I talk about it on my main channel too. So you don't have to be upset that we have a small group. It is a group that people pay for, but that's because we go deeply into investments and trust and some other things that, we just want to keep private. We're living in the private over there. But there's enough information here on the internet about that. And I'm telling you now, and I've been talking about this since 2017. I've been talking about gold since 2014. I've been talking about foreign currencies since 2017. If you don't know what to get, I've just told you a little bit. And people in the chat will tell you more about which currencies you can get and where to get them from, because the great reset is happening. The global currency reset is happening right now. Countries have repatriated their gold back to themselves. They're brokering peace between each other. They're doing trade with each other. They're doing trade with America. They have agreed to operate and trust on the same level and play on the same level playing field as one another. So we are about to experience a global currency reset like we've never experienced. It's actually happening right now, but that was going to lead to the greatest wealth transfer that we've ever had in history, and it's going to lead to global peace and prosperity. So you see what happened was there was a triangle of power. Allegedly, it was the Soros family. Then you have the bloodline families, and you have the Saudi kingdom. All of it has been dismantled. The Saudi kingdom, which is why a lot is going on in Reno right now. I'm in Nevada. You can research what's going on in Nevada right now. That region, many of those casinos were owned by the Saudi empire, by Saudi princes. They had a lot of debauchery going on over there. Prostitution was legal, drugs, all that stuff was running rampant because the Saudi princes, according to what I read by somebody who outed the Saudi princes, actually owned those casinos. And no telling what other mafia. But that has come down, and now all of those casinos, many of them will close, or some of them might reopen as something else. Some of you will buy them up. And again, the water's going to spring forth in Nevada. That's going to end all of that desert area, and those mines are about to open up. That's going to be a very wealthy region. The whole West Coast is sitting on rare earth minerals, gold, all kind of things. So position yourself is what I'm trying to say. You are about to experience tremendous, amazing wealth. Get your mind right. If it's not, keep it right and put your house and your affairs in order, because now you're going to experience global peace, joy, and prosperity. And if nobody else knows that it's going to happen, you must know it's going to happen. You must not only know it, but declare it as so. Command it to happen and walk like it's happening right now and get excited about it and manifest it. I'm Dr. Kia Pruitt again. I trust that I've said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. On tomorrow, Chief Mack and I will talk about how this reset is going to look according to what we've researched, and how there have been other resets, but how you should prepare so that you're fully ready and you can help your family and humanity. If you desire to join the private group, well, Chief Mack is going to do classes on how to operate in a trust and private and operate in trust and create your own trust. And I mean, he was telling me some amazing things that he intends like to teach us with certain things so that we can do business in trust and take control of our estates. It was just beautiful what he has laid out. So we talk about those things in a private group, as well as currencies that other people aren't talking about that you might want to consider. And we talk about gold and silver. We've been talking about goldbacks before mainstream media. We told people that the goldbacks in Florida was going to happen before it happened. We gave people the website to plug in their zip code so they can see which merchants in their state actually accepts gold and silver to pay off debt or to buy local goods and services in their area. And we just have this group there for people that have like minds, that have each other's email, that just want to stay in touch on the other side. So that's it, family. Tomorrow's July the 3rd. July 4th is coming up. I'll see you on the other side. Happy Independence Day. I'll talk to you soon. I love you. Have a good night. And I appreciate you all so very much for tuning in, listening to my son and me, sharing your information. I saw you chatting in the group on the chat, and all of you that sent a monetary gift. I want to say thank you as well. I can go on to thank you all tomorrow. I've kept you all too long, and I'll thank you and acknowledge you then. Peace. Have a good night. Make this a great week, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace. Thank you. I made it safely home from my vacation. Good night, family. Bye-bye.